Well, isn't that beautiful? It's a morning glory. That just volunteered itself right in my garden. Who doesn't love a volunteer? I was just walking by this tomato bed. It's got tomato and basil and zinnias, and I saw this pop of blue, and look at what I found. Isn't it wonderful? Don't you love it when things volunteer in the garden? It's gorgeous, purplish blue morning glory. I hope that color comes across on video. Here's another little volunteer. I have these all over the garden, but this one happened to drop in the perfect spot. It's a little red bud, and its leaves are a little bit diseased, but that's okay. Once those drop, next year it'll come back perfectly. And this is really the perfect space for it, so I'm going to let it grow. I've even put a little marker because over the winter, it's hard to see a very young sapling without its leaves. So isn't that wonderful? I'm going to have a red bud right here in the side garden. And red buds really do seed very easily. So if you have one or if your neighbor has one, you can end up with several grown specimens just by nurturing these little seedling volunteers. And here's a view stepping back. It's just behind that bowling ball. And it's going to really add a lot to this hosta bed to have that beautiful structure coming up through it. Their trunks are beautiful and they have multi-trunks. And of course, the leaves are heart-shaped. And then the best part about them is their purple blossoms. Even though they're called red buds, they have beautiful purple blossoms in the spring. So I'm thrilled that it volunteered in that particular spot. These are all juniper volunteers that came up in my front yard, and I've potted them up in Linda Fodder inspiration. And she does this with little junipers and turns them into topiaries. So I'm hoping by next year they'll be sizable. Some of them are very small, as you can see. I don't even know if you can see them, they're so small, but they do certainly look cute, all potted up. And, you know, I'm happy to have a use for them. I've got a couple little hollies volunteering here. One here at the base of this maple, and another one a couple feet over. Isn't that wonderful, guys? Now, those leaves are very easy to identify. They're a bit shiny. And of course they have pointed edges here, but that's a very easy ID. And I have them popping up all over the place. So I'm going to leave those here, and then any that I don't like where they've sprouted up, I can move around. But hollies are wonderful evergreens to have in your garden, and we'll have to see how fast they grow. But those are also total volunteers. Right under here, under the trunk of this maple. And what's this? It's a butterfly bush that I did not plant. It volunteered itself right here in the triangle garden, and I don't particularly like the spot, but look at that, guys. A beautiful little butterfly bush, a buddleia. So I'm going to probably transplant that somewhere else when it gets a little bit bigger. I'm not sure this is the right spot for it, as sometimes they get pretty tall, and I don't know what type this one is. Some of the newer varieties are sterile, so I'm guessing that this is a taller one. But look at that, guys. A totally free plant volunteering in my garden on its own. And there's another volunteer. That one obviously is pretty mature, but that's the mother plant for all my little seedlings that I've dug up for topiary. But look at that, guys. It's as tall as me, and that just volunteered itself right in our front garden bed. In a good spot, actually. We needed something there. And this soil's very hard to grow in. So I'm happy to have it. Thanks for volunteering. Here's another little stand of holly growing. A couple little sprouts have gone in here. Look at that. They've gone into a spot that's been difficult to grow in, so I'm just going to let them grow up there right in the corner of my driveway, and that'll be very interesting. Just a little holly bush. And again, you can see its pointy leaves. So I don't know what kind it is, but I think it's going to be a beautiful evergreen. This little Japanese maple volunteered itself about 10 feet away from the Japanese maple that I have in my front yard. And I was out just looking at a little patch of woods we have, and the red leaves just stuck out. And of course, look how easy it is to identify those leaves. They're beautiful. And again, it's August, so they look a little bit worse for wear, but it has already doubled in size, my little sapling. I hope you can see it. It's a little bit hard to see. Let me look at it from above. But it's put on a little bit of growth this year, and I had it in a pot. I put it in a pot last year, so it's been in there perhaps about a year. But look what happens when you can identify these little trees. So many trees volunteer themselves, and it really pays off to know your leaf structures. So I'm really happy about that. And of course in the fall, it'll be bright red. So guys, pay attention as you're weeding. You could find some treasures in your garden, completely free and valuable garden plants that have volunteered themselves, and it's like finding a gift. So thanks so much for watching, and let me know what treasures you found in your garden. I'll see you next time.